For at least the third time in the past 24 hours, Donald Trump became visibly defensive over the fact that his polling and approval ratings are plummeting, causing him to lash out at a reporter when she confronted him with the fact that his unpopular policies are causing public backlash for Republican congresspeople. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is a fun story. Again, Donald Trump once again becomes triggered and visibly defensive over inconvenient facts. I'm going to play the clip here, and then we're actually going to dive into the story that predicated this reporter's questions.
Some members of Congress in red districts are facing pushback from voters in town halls. We know that Americans voted for you on immigration and the economy, but these voters say they're angry and frustrated by these firings. They don't like the work of Elon Musk and these other actions. What do you say to them?
Who do you work for?
I work for ABC News, sir.
Who?
ABC News.
No wonder. let me just tell you that I have today the highest poll numbers I've ever had. I have today the highest poll numbers of any Republican president ever. We haven't even checked the Democrats, but that's what I was just told. And they like the job that we're doing. They like the job that Elon's doing. He's doing something that a lot of people wouldn't have the courage to do.
So, as you know, that's all bullshit. We have discussed this in multiple videos over the past 24 to 48 hours. Poll after poll after poll after poll, recent polls, back-to-back-to-back polls, have shown that Donald Trump's approval rating is cratering. And even his approval rating with respect to economic management, which should be his greatest advantage because inflation is returning. People are pissed off about the fact that gas and grocery prices are skyrocketing on his watch when he assured them repeatedly, publicly during the campaign that he could snap his fingers and end it all on day one. He has failed to deliver that promise. Democrats are mobilizing to hold him politically accountable for it, as well they should. They should be relentless and persistent in that. And Trump, again, for the third time at least in the past 24 hours, is denying it. Well, no. Our polling is better than it's ever been. No. Trump started out relatively higher in terms of his approval rating than his previous administration, but he was still hemorrhaging compared to President Biden at this point in their respective presidencies, President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton. Donald Trump is the least popular of these political candidates with respect to this point in their respective administrations. And these back-to-back polls have further ate into that because of inflation, which is skyrocketing on Trump's watch. But he's in total denial about it. And he's lashing out at a reporter. Oh, you work for ABC. How dare you ask me that question? I'm a big boy. I'm a special boy. I'm the most popular person ever. It's just, I'm God. He can't fathom the fact that he's never been particularly popular. Even though he won the popular vote in this last election, he only won by plurality. A majority of voters voted for somebody else between Kamala Harris and third-party candidates and write-ins. So he has bought into his own press, which is being perpetuated by the cultists in his orbit, that he's somehow extraordinarily popular and has a mandate from the American people. He doesn't. But let's get into the particulars of the story which so triggered Trump. And that in and of itself is hilarious. So as the Atlantic Journal-Constitution, the AJC, which is the biggest newspaper, I believe, in Georgia, they reported on this. It's gone viral. Georgia congressman confronted by angry crowd over his support for Trump's agenda. This is one of the congresspeople from red districts that the reporter was discussing in that clip. U.S. Representative Rich McCormick was peppered with boos and catcalls throughout a town hall meeting in Roswell late Thursday, as hundreds of critics jeered the Republican for backing Donald Trump's agenda during his first month in office. The Sewanee Republican staff expected a robust turnout for his first town hall since Trump took office, but they seemed caught off guard by the massive crowd of hundreds that gathered outside Roswell City Hall. Attendees set the tone early, with one accusing McCormick of, quote, doing us a disservice for supporting the budget-slashing initiatives by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency that have torn through all corners of the federal government. Quote, you don't think I'm going to stand up for you? Asked McCormick as the crowd responded with loud boos. Pressed on what he'll do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House, that's a quote, McCormick then brought up President Biden. Quote, when you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. By the way, this is Rich McCormick. He then compared the attendees to January 6ers who were just as loud as you, a reference to the pro-Trump mob that attacked the U.S. Capitol. That triggered a fresh outburst from crowd members insulted by the comparison. Pushed to answer the question, McCormick later added, quote, "I don't want to see any president become too powerful." At another point, McCormick was asked about remarks he made to CNN suggesting that teens on school lunch programs should work during the summer to help pay for their meals. Quote, "I think that a teenager sitting at home during high school who could go to work and had the ability and opportunity should." Again, insane. Republicans are pro repealing child labor laws and oppose any attempt to subsidize school lunches and school breakfasts and things of that nature. Absolutely appalling and wildly unpopular. Now, I'm going to play some of these clips from Greg Bluestein. Some of them, not all, but some of them have been removed on Twitter for some reason. So we're going to play some of this again just to really put this in perspective.
Forever and tyranny will rise. I believe you know the rest of his speech. Something about give me liberty. It's clear from all the writings of our founding fathers that our great republic was never meant to be ruled by a dictator nor a king. So you can imagine my shock and pure horror when I woke up to find that our president had given himself unprecedented executive powers and then within a few days named himself king to his followers.
Tyranny. Do you have a question for the Congress?
I do. Thank you. Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
People are not happy with Trump, and it goes on like this. This one clip goes on for another 4 minutes. We're not going to go through it all. And again, there are other clips that are provided in this link. It's good reporting by Bluestein. One of the sharpest exchanges came after one attendee questioned McCormick on the DOGE-backed cuts of roughly 1,000 workers at the Atlanta-based Centers for Disease Control. McCormick said that he was in close contact with the CDC, and a lot of work they do is duplicitous with AI, as some of the audience groaned. "I happen to be a doctor. I know a few things," said McCormick, who went on to say he believes the CDC and other federal agencies, quote, "can do more with less, just like the Marine Corps and everyone else does when you have to do more with less to survive."
Workers from the nuclear worker, the NNSA, our nuclear stockpile, and CDC workers working on the bird flu being fired by DOGE and then having to be rehired when someone realized, oh gosh, we need those people. Why is a supposedly conservative party taking such a radical and extremist and sloppy approach to this?
So I've been down to CDC several times. Actually, Dr. Howery, one of my former attendings, works there. And
So, again, just very, very blunt, brutal questions from the reporters. Let's see. That brought a short rejoinder from the questioner who says he understands, quote, trying to do more with less. That's reasonable. What's not reasonable is taking this chainsaw approach. Quote, "My understanding is when you say you have this many employees that you have to cut, the organization decides who to cut," McCormick said, triggering more groans from the crowd.
you have the ability to go to work and you're in high school, why not go out there and develop your work ethic and have extra money to take somebody on a date? What if you don't? Why not?
What if you don't?
Is that really such a bad thing?
11 hours. What if you don't?
Again, the problem was it was in reference to paying for school meals, not having extra scratch to go on dates. He's bullshitting. He's trying to walk it back because he knows what he said is genuinely unhinged. After losing a close election in 2020, McCormick captured a Republican-friendly suburban district in 2022. His territory stretches from North Fulton County through deeply conservative parts of North Georgia. McCormick, an emergency room physician and U.S. Marine veteran, was one of the few senior Republicans to back Governor Ron DeSantis over Trump. He later endorsed Trump and has supported his campaign agenda and cost-cutting plans. He's now considered a potential Republican challenger to John Ossoff, who is the Democratic incumbent in Georgia. God, we need him to keep his seat. The rowdy town hall was one of the first examples in Georgia of a Trump-driven backlash trickling down to the grassroots. So many people who showed up that some were turned away by local authorities. Others filed into the overflow rooms to watch the back and forth. Not everything, the Republican said, was met with pushback. And so it goes on to say that literally not everything he said was met with opprobrium. But this is a positive sign for those of us who are liberals and progressives and Trump opponents, and really bad news for perhaps not even Trump. Again, maybe Trump is thinking, I just ran to keep my ass out of jail. I just want to golf for 4 years, once again be the most powerful man on earth, and then I'm going to retire off into the sunset, still being the puppet master of the Republican Party. But this is a major vulnerability for elected Republicans, including those in relatively red districts like McCormick. And again, you and I and elected Democrats and everyone in the pro-liberal, pro-democracy, pro-progressive coalition, people who oppose Trump, whoever that may be, we need to relentlessly hype this, relentlessly connect these Republican officials to the unpopular policies of the Trump administration and make sure that they suffer the political consequences. That is vital. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.